Yo, what if we told you that Bitcoin will become the biggest asset in the world in 48 months? That wasn't me who said it. While giving a presentation to thousands at the Bitcoin Policy Summit in Washington, D.C., the Bitcoin billionaire accidentally said something that he probably wasn't supposed to say. I mean, it was just like a slip. It was like a Freudian slip. That Bitcoin overtakes the gold market cap of $19 trillion, reaching roughly $1 million per coin by 2029. This isn't simply Bitcoin saying this. This isn't our boy Rustin saying this. This isn't our boy Opti saying this. This is someone that you're very, very familiar with. So who am I talking about? I'm talking about the one, the only, the Michael Saylor. Before we dive into this rabbit hole, let's play the clip of Saylor talking about this at the Bitcoin Policy Summit in Washington, D.C. that happened only a couple days ago. Let's check it out, and then we'll talk about it.
It is the most powerful force in the world right now. It's growing nearly 60%. It's become the eighth largest asset in the world. It's about to become the largest asset in the world in the next 48 months. The largest asset. It is the most.
I mean, dude. Like, I don't know if he realized what he said. And there's a ton to unpack here. By the way, I'm joined today with Dom Bay from Proof of Work Force, and of course our boy Opti in the house. And Dom is running for something. We're going to be talking about that, all about that during the culture segment on today's show. But again, the confidence in Saylor's voice when he said this. Remember, this is the same Michael Saylor that predicted that three things were going to happen. What were those three things that changed in the FASB accounting rules? That banks were going to be able to custody Bitcoin and that there was going to be an approval of a spot Bitcoin ETF. This is also the same Michael Saylor that predicted the famous mobile wave. He wrote a book about it, how essentially the mobile phones was completely going to change the future. And he wrote this like 12 years ago, before the iPhone, before smartphones, before all that. That's the same Michael Saylor, right? So he's a pretty good track record of predicting emerging technologies. And he said it with such confidence. And you have to understand where Michael Saylor has been throughout the last 2 weeks. The White House just had their first crypto summit where they had all the industry leaders in the White House. And we got to the public got to see about 20 minutes of that until, the media was kicked out of the room and then it was a closed door conversation. And then we did a couple days, we did a couple episodes before that summit, and we were pointing out the size of Michael Saylor's smile. We've never seen Michael Saylor smile that way before. And again, who was the audience that Michael Saylor was talking to when I played you guys that clip? It was some of the most influential and powerful politicians in Washington, D.C. He wouldn't have said that lightly. And again, I think the writing is on the wall. We celebrated that day. That was one of our best live streams ever. When the White House officially announced, this is their words, not simply Bitcoin's words, America will be the Bitcoin superpower of the world. The golden age of America has begun. And it's referencing the establishment of the Strategic Bitcoin Reserve and United States Digital Asset Stockpile Executive Order, March 6th, 2025, right? And what else did Michael Saylor talk about in this presentation yesterday? So shortly after, he talked about how essentially Bitcoin was going to become one of the world's largest assets, or the world's largest assets, he broke down the expected forecast for the next 15 years, right? Kind of like a recap of the presentation that he did at the Bitcoin conference in Nashville. And here's Jesse Myers. Jesse Myers actually contributed. He made one of the images, one of the graphics that Saylor used in this presentation that he did in Washington, D.C. But he did this thread breaking down exactly what Saylor's logic is behind the famous $13 million Bitcoin by 2045. So I'm going to go through all of that. And then we have a compound interest calculator, which I think is really interesting to play with. And we're going to go through all that. So anyways, Jesse starts with $13 million per Bitcoin in 20 years. That's what Michael Saylor expects. Thread breaking down what he sees and how he got to this number. So it's a thread for the audio listeners. The expected annual growth rate of Bitcoin is expected to diminish over time. But I mean, you're still getting a 50% return expected in 2040 and 2024. And then it kind of goes down from there. And then it stabilizes around 20%. But that's only until that's not until the year 2037. Right. So that's more than 10 years from now. We still got plenty and plenty of time. So let's go through all of this. First one, Saylor's analysis allows for a bearish scenario of only 3 million per BTC, but also a bullish scenario as much as 49 million per BTC in just 20 years. How did he get these numbers? And again, this is a graphic or a picture or a screenshot, better said, of the same presentation of the clip where we just played you. And it says, as a starting point, Saylor leveraged my analysis. This gave him $900 trillion of value in the world. The rationale that all 900 trillion is within the scope as SOV, full potential valuation framework for forecasting Bitcoin value. So Saylor's valuation framework from a once in a species article, and he breaks down the logic behind all this and essentially where Bitcoin is today. I think this is an old graphic, but essentially, if you compare 2 trillion by, all of the world's asset value, Bitcoin still has a long ways to go. And that's the case that Michael Saylor was making in that same presentation, that same keynote that he did at the Bitcoin Policy Summit. So he goes on to say, with this starting point, Saylor then needed to determine how much capital will Bitcoin absorb from other asset buckets, how quickly that will happen, and what else changes along the way. Bitcoin is 0.2% of global wealth. So it says Bitcoin is 2 trillion or just 0.22% of global assets. Right. So you could tell that it has a long way to go. These assumptions and the associated math resulted in Saylor's conclusion. Bitcoin will grow to a $280 trillion asset or a $13 million Bitcoin in just 20 years. Right. And it's not that crazy, right? It's not that crazy if you think about it. Bitcoin is a superior asset. Bitcoin is superior to gold, stocks. You can't take stocks with you. You can't take real estate with you. Real estate, you have to pay for maintenance. You have to pay for property tax. With Bitcoin, you don't have to worry about those things, right? So here's the macro 21-year forecast. And this is what it would look like, right? As you can see, it's not too unreasonable, right? Like Bitcoin would still be less than all the money combined, be less than all the bonds combined, be less than the real estate market, be less than the equities market. But of course, it would overtake gold. And that's what I want to focus on today, because that's what we're supposed to talk about, right? Saylor is wholeheartedly expecting that Bitcoin is going to overtake gold within the next 4 years. If Bitcoin overtakes gold within the next 4 years, that makes it more than a $19 trillion market cap. Based on the current market cap where we are, that's about a roughly 10 to 11x. That's roughly close, or if not $1 million per coin within 4 years. I mean, and again, Saylor isn't doing this at a Bitcoin conference. Saylor is saying this in front of a bunch of very experienced politicians. These are serious people. Everyone was wearing a tie and a suit, right? So he wasn't joking around. And I wanted to end it with this, and then I'm going to read some quotes from Saylor from the presentation yesterday in regards to the importance of the United States adopting Bitcoin, individual states adopting Bitcoin, perhaps pensions adopting Bitcoin, perhaps individuals adopting Bitcoin. Anyhow, so here is the compound interest calculator, and I just put $10,000 in there. I think it is a lot of money. $10,000 is a lot of money, but I put $10,000. I put a monthly contribution of roughly $100. I put the length of time in years. And I use the average of what Saylor expects is going to be the annual growth rate of Bitcoin for the next 20 years. And you'll see the power. You see 29%. You're like, Nico, that's nothing. The thing is, if it compounds over time, it's very, very powerful. So we're going to calculate that real quick. As you can see, just with a $10,000 position in Bitcoin today, if we're getting a 20, remember, historically, Bitcoin has grown at a 250%. So, I think 29% is conservative, but for the sake of playing it on the safe end, just with a $10,000 investment today, if Bitcoin continues to grow at a 29%, CAGR year over year, you're seeing and you're contributing $100 a month. You can end up with you'll be a multimillionaire, right? That's absolutely crazy. But what about 10 years? It's still a lot of money, $176,000, right? So, this is the power of compound interest. And of course, you guys could, plug in whatever number here and, experiment, right? Everyone's situation is different. These are some of the highlights from the speech that Saylor made yesterday, the keynote at he called it the Bitcoin for America. And it was called, for our audio listeners, Michael Saylor, Bitcoin and American Digital Supremacy. These are some of the quotes. I'm here today to show you how the strategic Bitcoin reserve represents a strategy for United States digital supremacy in the 21st century. And he went on to argue in favor of Bitcoin as digital property, asserting that the United States should acquire as much of it as possible so that it could, quote, rent and finance on the top of that property. He also poised that trillions of dollars in commerce will flow over the Bitcoin network, which is another reason why the U.S. should prioritize acquiring its share of the network. Moreover, he asserted that Bitcoin embodies American values and that owning it is the next best thing to living in the U.S. Everybody who is living in Asia, in Africa, would move to the U.S. if they could. They would move their money to the U.S. if they could. They would want the currency of the U.S. They want the security of the U.S. They want the values of the U.S., but they can't have it. So the second best thing they can have is to move their money into the Bitcoin network, which has all the values, protection, and security of the U.S. It's an incredibly powerful speech. I believe it's about 33 minutes long. Highly suggest you guys watch the entire thing. But the signal, I think the thing that I really want to focus on is the confidence of which he said, this Bitcoin thing is essentially going to reach the market cap of gold within 4 years, right? That's a 10x from now. Most people don't get a 10x return on their investment in their entire lifetime. So I think it's a tremendous opportunity, even if it doesn't do 10x, even if it does a 5x. A 5x is incredible, right? Like the rule of thumb in the stock market is you're supposed to just double your money every 10 years, right? Like a 5x, right, in 4 years, that's half of what Saylor is saying. But again, I think Saylor is privy to information we don't have, based on the fact that we know that that Saylor was at Mar-a-Lago. We know that Saylor was at the White House. We know that his whole cabinet, including Howard Lutnick, the chairman of Counter Fitzgerald, is now the Secretary of Commerce. He's essentially in charge of this budget neutral accumulation strategy tied with the strategic Bitcoin reserve. In the executive order, they said that they're trying to figure out ways in order for the United States to acquire more Bitcoin. And of course, the reintroduction of the Bitcoin Act by Senator Cynthia Lummis that was announced during the Bitcoin Policy Institute, where the United States will acquire up to 1 million Bitcoin. If that I've been saying this for a very long time now, and the more I find out, the more unashamed I am of it. If the United States, right now, the United States is going to hodl. That's guaranteed. The roughly 200,000 coins that they have, they're going to hodl them. They're not going to sell them. But let's say the United States starts acquiring Bitcoin, and they want to reach that 1 million coins. I would be extremely surprised if we didn't hit $500,000 Bitcoin by the end of the year. There's not enough Bitcoin to go around. We've done the math for you guys all the time, right? If every millionaire around the world wanted to buy just one, they physically could not. I think that was actually even mentioned in one of the White House orders, right? So the point is absolute scarcity is meeting the money printer, right? And what do you think that's going to do to the price, right? It's going to make number go up. So yeah, but I mean, Opti, I mean, we nailed that when we saw that smile from Saylor that first time, bro. We were like, yo, something's about to happen. And then the next day, the White House, the so-called crypto summit at the White House, we were blown away. We're like, holy shit, this is number one, a Bitcoin only strategic reserve. And the United States government just announced they're going to buy more Bitcoin. Like, what do you think is going to happen to the price? Like, Saylor knows something. Saylor knows something is going on. Yeah, man, I think number go up. I think this is an inevitability. Other nation states are going to follow in the United States' footsteps. I know pension funds are getting exposure to Bitcoin as well. So I mean, look, Dom, I'm going to pass it on to you, man. This is an incredibly exciting time in the United States. Not only for it to benefit the people of the United States, but the individuals of the United States start benefiting from number go up technology, start benefiting from Bitcoin.
Yeah, Nico Opti, gosh, it's an honor as always, and shout out to the Simply Bitcoin fan base, one of the strongest in the game. Yeah, hearing everything you laid out, it gets me thinking about this. We all wish we could have been in the conversation when Bitcoin had a market cap of 100,000 and people were saying it'll never hit 1 million. We wish we could have been in the conversation when they were saying it hit 10 million and people were saying, no, that won't happen. 100 million, 500 million, a billion, right? 20 billion, 50, 100 billion, 500 billion, a trillion. At every step of the way, there's been people that have said, we're done. Bitcoin's dead. It can't, like the bubble's here. We're at an inflection where if you're watching what Saylor is saying, you're going, the guy's out of his mind. He's crazy. It's not going to overtake gold. But all that is a replay of the same conversation that happened at every step along the way of the market cap. So at some point, you have to just learn Bitcoin and say, fine, I have to make up my own decision here. And for those of us that have learned Bitcoin, we know the trajectory it's on. So it doesn't seem crazy to us, but for people from the outside, it seems insane. Just know, for those sitting right now watching the predictions of the next cycle saying that's insane, you're in good company, because there were people having the same reaction at each step of the market cap. So incredible stuff going on at the national level. I know their strategic reserve and the executive order is unsure whether it was going to happen. It continues to re-emphasize the importance of learning Bitcoin. We're no longer at a place of luxury where we can afford not to learn about Bitcoin, not to learn the why of it, and not to study what it means for the financial system and the legacy system. So that's my little take off of all of that bullishness from the BPI, Bitcoin first, or America first, Bitcoin America.
Bitcoin for America.
100%. That's a good take. By the way, everybody, stick around for the culture segment today, because we have Dom Bay in the house. Dom, after over a decade of championing workers and wage earners, he's officially running for the CalPERS Board of Trustees to protect our nation's largest public pension, serving 2 million participants. So this is absolutely massive. This is what we need. We need Bitcoiners. We need Bitcoiners really spreading the message of Bitcoin, so that especially, and I want to talk about Bitcoin being the money of the working class, right? Like, Bitcoin protects the working class from the ravages of inflation, right? Like, Bitcoin is middle class money. The middle class, they're living paycheck to paycheck. They're trying to get by. And if you're living paycheck to paycheck and you're earning in fiat and you're saving in fiat, you get absolutely, you get wrecked, right? This is what Bitcoin is all about, right? It's a bottom up movement. So congratulations to Dom about that. And we're going to talk about it during the culture segment. We're going to do a deep dive. Opti, what's your take on this? Bullish or bearish from Saylor? I mean, dude, he must know something we do not, man, because like the confidence when he was saying like, yo, listen, man, like this is going to reach 1 million in the next 4 years. I'm going to play it one more time, and then Opti, I want to get your take.
It is the most powerful force in the world right now. It's growing nearly 60%. It's become the eighth largest asset in the world. It's about to become the largest asset in the world in the next 48 months. The largest asset.
There was no flinch. There was no emotion when he said that. He was just like, look, this is inevitably what's going to happen. Anyways, before I pass it on to Opti, guys, almost 2,000 live viewers across YouTube and X. If you guys are enjoying the show so far, make sure to smash that like button. Of course, shout out to the Rumble audience, the most hardcore chat, always bashing me and Opti. Opti, what's your take on this, man? Is Saylor being overly bullish, overly bearish? What's your take, Opti?
Well, I think it's really interesting considering that 2045 chart. If you kind of put it in context to those predictions, of course, it was what, 3 mil, 13 mil, and 49 million by 2045. Of course, he's, making different predictions based on kind of different inputs. But I think, like, again, if you put that in context, like 1 million in 4 years, essentially 48 months, like, that is crazy. I'm guessing this is more of the bull case than the bear case. So it's going to be very interesting to see what plays out. But I think the main point here is kind of what you guys have been saying in the context of who he is saying this to. He's obviously in Washington, D.C. There's obviously either people within the Trump administration, whether it's like aides or someone, secretary personnel. And I think it has a little more weight than when it's just us talking on Twitter, or it's, Saylor doing a podcast with a Bitcoin podcaster. You got to understand that he definitely is reading the room. He knows who he's talking to. He knows the audience that he's speaking to. So in many respects, this might even be a bearish prediction from Michael Saylor in regards to who he's talking to. Like, if he's saying $1 million Bitcoin in 48 months, I'm going to suspect that he either, one, knows some things, and two, he's probably downplaying what he actually believes. And we've been talking about this for a long time. The chat's kind of saying, how many times can we predict $1 million Bitcoin in the next 4 years?
It wasn't us. It wasn't us.
I know. And that's the funny part. And I mean, I've been saying for a while that by next cycle, I think $1 million Bitcoin is definitely in play. But you got to also remember, like, he is probably downplaying this. Saylor has been downplaying, I think, in a lot of respects, all of the predictions he's been saying to the corporate press for as long as he's been out there. Like, he's playing on a different level than we are. Yes, we can come out here and just pull out ridiculous price predictions just because we're as bull-hearted as anyone else can be. But when you are talking to a more professional, more, conservative audience, you don't just throw out $1 million price predictions in the next 48 months willy-nilly. Like, you're saying this with obviously a lot of math and receipts to back it up, because you know that you're going to get shredded. So I'm kind of on the fence that I think even Saylor himself is being bearish on this prediction. Obviously, we'll look back on this in 4 years and be like, yeah, we were right then. And, everyone that is calling us too bullish, they'll be eating their cake. But I'm kind of on the same plane. I've been saying for a while, 300K probably by this year, even though now as the price dumps, it's like, dude, how can you even predict 300K? We should get back to 100K. So I'm kind of been saying 300K for months now, maybe over a year now, just by like vibe-based price prediction. So I think $1 million in 4 years, I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility. Like, I think it's very, very clear that that's where we're going. And 49 mil? I'm going with him. 50 mil by 2045 is my price prediction. Hold me to that in 21 years, and we'll have the combo then.
100%. First of all, I want to give a shout out to the super chat. Appreciate the $2, brother. He's Vault Dweller says, it is official. I am a Bitcoin maximalist. We should. There we go. Opti read my mind, the air horns. All right, guys, before we jump into today's show, because it's loaded with content, we're going to be talking about essentially how the Trump administration is officially ending Operation Choke Point 2.0. We're going to be playing you guys the clip because we mentioned this during the opening segment about how the administration plans to explore different pathways to accumulate Bitcoin. Again, I'm telling you, this has all happened a lot sooner than than anticipated. I originally, when we started Simply Bitcoin, I was like, look, it's inevitable that a country is going to make Bitcoin legal tender. I was like, it's going to happen in 2024. It happened in 2021. And I was like, look, it is inevitable that Bitcoin is going to enter the mainstream political discourse by 2028, which is the presidential election coming up. But it happened in 2024, right? So in Bitcoin terms, it seems like everything happens a lot faster than you would anticipate. If I would have played you guys this clip in 2023, you would have been like, that's AI. That is doctored. There's no way that is real. I mean, like, I have to remind you guys, like, look at this. Look at this. This is real. This is real. I've told you guys, if you're not in the room, you're not in the deal. And we're definitely in the room. This is coming from the White House Twitter account. America will be the Bitcoin superpower of the world. I mean, is it too crazy to think that after something like that, like, you know, we're not going to at least 5x? I mean, I think it's pretty naive. Another thing that I'm going to talk about too, we have an article by Bitcoin Magazine, Counter Fitzgerald to expand Bitcoin financing amid U.S. policy shift. Again, kind of playing into the narrative of one of the things that Saylor said. He said 3 things needed to happen in order for Bitcoin to hit $5 million per coin: the FASB change, the changing in the FASB accounting rules, the approval of the spot Bitcoin ETF, and the ability for banks to custody Bitcoin. That kind of plays into all of that. And during the culture segment, you guys are going to want to stick around, because we have Dom Bay joining us in the house today. Dom Bay is running to be on the board of trustees for CalPERS, the largest pension fund in the nation. So it's going to be a jam-packed show, guys. You're going to want to stick around. Before we jump into all the content, all the signal, I do want to give a very special shout out to Simply Bitcoin's lead sponsor, BitcoinWell.com. Buy real Bitcoin. Enable your independence with the fastest and safest way to buy Bitcoin on-chain or via the Lightning Network in Canada and the USA. To get started, you put in your email address. It takes 2 to 5 minutes to get signed up. And what makes Bitcoin Well different, and why we personally recommend it here at Simply Bitcoin, is that it's a non-custodial platform. What does that mean? That means that you can't even leave your Bitcoin on the exchange. As soon as you buy Bitcoin, it goes straight to your self-custody Bitcoin wallet address. And if you're a higher net worth individual looking to buy $50,000 worth of Bitcoin or more, check out Bitcoin Well Infinite. You're going to have a dedicated representative, accounted representative that you're going to be able to call or text every time you want to buy or sell Bitcoin. You don't have to deal with UI. You don't have to deal whatever. You're going to have a dedicated person every time you want to speak with them to purchase or sell Bitcoin. And if you're in America, you can now get paid in Bitcoin sent directly to your personal Bitcoin wallet. Share your Bitcoin Well direct deposit details with your employer, set your Bitcoin/dollar split, and receive sats instead of fiat with every paycheck. Guys, go check out bitcoinwell.com today. And we have a special deal for you guys. If you sign up going to bitcoinwell.com/simply, or use promo code SIMPLYBTC when you sign up, you have an opportunity to win up to 1 million Satoshis. That's right, 1 million Satoshis every time you play the Bitcoin Wishing Well contest. In fact, you get 3 tosses into the Wishing Well to win up to 1 million Satoshis just for signing up. How crazy is that? All right, everybody, we got a jam-packed show for you guys today. We're going to hit the numbers. We will be right back. I want to tell you guys about our sponsor, Stamp Seed. Is your Bitcoin in cold storage really secure? Are your seed words really secure? Stamp Seed's do-it-yourself kit has everything you'll need to hammer your seed words into commercial-grade titanium plates instead of writing them down on paper. Don't do that. Paper sucks. You want to literally stamp your seed into this plate of titanium. Your words are actually stamped into the metal plate with this hammer. So once your words are in, they aren't going anywhere. No risk of the plate breaking apart and your pieces falling everywhere. Titanium stamp seeds will survive nearly triple the heat,
produced by a house fire. They are also crush-proof, waterproof, non-corrosive, and most importantly, because this is generational wealth, time-proof. All things that paper is not, allowing you to hodl your Bitcoin for the long haul. I mean, here is the plate that they crushed. They put in water, they put a blowtorch to it, and as you can see, the words have survived. Stamp your seed on StampSeed. And you can use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on their store. Head over to stampseed.com today.
All right, everybody, use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on the stampseed.com store. At the time of recording, the Bitcoin price is $80,670. Block height, 887,649. Sats per dollar, 1,239. Market cap, 1.6 trillion. Bitcoin versus gold market cap, 7.63%. Percentage issued, 94.45%. Decline from all-time high, negative 26.1%. Realized monetary inflation, my favorite stat out of all this, 0.93%. Even if fiat currencies get it back to 2%, Bitcoin is still literally completely better, and it's going to go down for zero. It's going to go down to zero eventually, the realized inflation rate of Bitcoin. Anyhow, I'm going to play you guys this clip. We didn't play you guys this clip last time. We played you guys this clip of essentially Trump announcing that Operation Choke Point 2.0 is officially over in the US of A. Operation Choke Point 2.0 was essentially happening in the backgrounds. All of the current, most of the Biden administration, especially towards the end, the last 2.5 years, it was just like it was war. They were debanking the industry. They're going after the miners. You saw propaganda hit pieces dropping out of legacy media. We found out that a lot of that legacy media was being funded, right? Like it's interesting. So Operation Choke Point 2.0 is officially over, and this is the part that I want to pay attention to, connecting it what we were talking about in the beginning in terms of Bitcoin's potential price. So here's Trump, and he says, U.S. will explore Bitcoin holdings and end war on crypto. Quote, the Treasury and Commerce Departments will also explore new pathways. Actually, you know what? Let's hear President Trump say it.
Who knows? Who knows? But so far, it's been right. And well, let's keep it that way. The Treasury and Commerce Departments will also explore new pathways to accumulate additional Bitcoin holdings for the reserve, provided it's done at no cost to the taxpayers. We don't want any cost to the taxpayers. In addition, my order directs federal agencies to conduct an inventory of all crypto assets currently held by the U.S. government and determine how they can be transferred easily to the Treasury. Non-Bitcoin digital assets will be held in a new U.S. digital asset stockpile where they will be managed properly. My administration also is working to end the federal bureaucracy's war on crypto, which was really going on pretty wildly during Biden until the election came about. Who knows? Who knows? But so far.
So, that's pretty crazy, right? That's pretty crazy. I have no doubt in my mind that's going to happen. Like I was saying earlier, Howard Lupnick is the one in charge of that. He had to sell his Bitcoin exposure, but he said it on Palm's podcast. He's like, I own tens of millions of Bitcoin, planning to buy hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars of the Bitcoin. No one is better than their incentives. I think this is an inevitability. I think that if you're not exposed to Bitcoin, you're at a competitive disadvantage. You risk yourself getting left behind, and this applies to everyone and any institution. It's just as simple as that. Anyways, I'm gonna pass it on to Mr. Dom Bay in the house. What a crazy moment, man! Like what a series of events. We go from our industry being attacked last year to essentially you could make an argument the most powerful person on the face of the planet, the president of the United States, basically saying, yeah, the U.S. government is looking into ways to acquire more Bitcoin. Like, we've come a very, very long way since at least where I got in around 2016. Back then it was the Wild West, and now Bitcoin's growing up. So Dom, what are your thoughts on this? And specifically on the point where I said, like, I think that anyone, any institution, any nation state that doesn't have a Bitcoin strategy, risks getting left behind. Dom.
Yeah, so we have come a long way, and pretty, again, Bitcoin is a tool and a network. And so the power of it extends far beyond the asset, and people can use that for, whatever they want to use it for. We had, a previous administration that kind of shunned that industry and didn't really give much time or attention to it. In fact, in some cases, attacked it. And, the next administration comes in and they go, hey, we want to use this as a tool. So around the world, you don't need permission to use Bitcoin. It continues to expand and be adopted. And that's why there's the saying, nothing stops this train. So to your point, Nico, your comment about folks that don't have Bitcoin are not going to survive. I think there's a lot of truth to that. But even more important is that people that don't take the lessons from Bitcoin and learn why will not survive. Because again, we have a changing inflationary environment, right? Where even though we're seeing some lower numbers, true inflation is pretty heavy. Your money, if you put $10,000 or $20,000, let's say $10,000 under your bed in 2020, you've lost a tremendous amount of purchasing power on that $10,000. At least, 20% of that is wiped off, if not closer to 25. And that's using the conventional inflation calculator. It does include things like energy, housing. So you need to realize, why are funds holding Bitcoin performing well? And you need to answer that question. And you definitely can't just, not look at it or afford to not learn those lessons. So Bitcoin is a tool that is built for this environment. We know the Genesis block, right? Chancellor on the verge of second bailout for banks. We know that in 2008, 2009, a ton of institutions and working wage earning people got wrecked by the legacy financial system. That's not a conspiracy. That's a fact. And you know that because pension systems prior to the financial crisis, on average in the United States, were funded in the low 90% on average. Your average local and state pension was funded in the low 90s. After the financial crisis, it was funded under 80% in the mid to high 70s. And that's where it stayed, following the longest stock market equity run in history. So the funds haven't caught up. Why? You need to learn about Bitcoin and understand why other funds are catching up, and what are the tools in the modern financial environment that are going to allow you to have a portfolio to keep up with one of the largest prints of money supply of all time. You can't afford to not learn these things. You have to learn them. And then once you learn them, then you decide, what is my vehicle of choice going to be? For those, that are on this show, and myself and us, Bitcoin is a vehicle we feel that is the ideal vehicle to keep pursuit in the changing financial environment. If you're not going to do Bitcoin, you still have to ask those questions. What is going to keep pace? So always open to hearing other vehicles, but I mean, it's hard to look at other vehicles outside of Bitcoin. So I think that's really pivotal to any fund managers or funds. And it's pivotal to everyday workers and wage earners who, again, from 2020 to now, if you didn't get a 25% raise, you took a pay cut. And if you got a 25% raise, you didn't get a raise. You have to address what the plan is. Short term, we know there's going to be fluctuations. I saw you guys pulled up the price chart. We were at 80 today, which means that if you bought in the peak, you're down 25%. But as you learn Bitcoin, you have to learn how to look for the long haul and, be responsible and use Bitcoin as a vehicle and learn how it flows and how it moves. We still have anyone holding Bitcoin over 5 years has always been in the green. So beautiful.
No, I completely agree. And I think it's a really important point, that last point, right? I've heard Saylor say this a bunch of times, like anyone who's bought Bitcoin and has held it for at least a cycle, they've never lost money. I think that's really important to emphasize. Opti, what's your take on this, bro? I mean, dude, I remember we were in the trenches, dude. We were in the trenches. Opti and I were like concerned. We're like, dude, we're going to have to move to El Salvador. Opti's like, no, bro. And I'm like, bro, we're going to have to. We might be put in the gulag like crazy. What's happening here? And then fast forward, not only like less than a year, right? You have the most powerful person on the face of the planet basically saying, the United States is going to be the Bitcoin, not crypto, the Bitcoin capital of the world, and basically announcing that they're trying to figure out ways to accumulate Bitcoin. Opti, what's your take?
Yeah, well, I think a lot of Bitcoiners are obviously very cynical when it comes to politicians, but I think this move that we're seeing, again, I've been saying for a while, and I'm like a broken record constantly on the same points, but I think the move from the US into Bitcoin is much more than just a symbolic or a rhetorical narrative move. We are starting to see that there is a lot of uncertainty and mistrust in not only the financial world, but in the institutions at large. And say what you want about Trump, but it does seem like with the backing of Doge and all of the other things that they're doing, they are trying to address this fundamental issue that people do mistrust the system. And various things are being done, various policies are being announced or proposed. But one of the main things is why we are Bitcoiners in the first place is because, as we say all the time, fix the money, fix the world. And so I think right now what we're seeing is a lot of these moves by Trump going into Bitcoin and like Howard Lutnick and all the people in the administration. I think I saw this morning, it's like half a dozen of Trump's cabinet members are either holding Bitcoin or Bitcoin advocates. And I think what we're seeing is much more than just symbolic moves going into Bitcoin. I think these are very, very clear signals that they are trying to remonetize the financial system and gain more trust into the system because people are starting to, doubt what's going on in Washington. I think right now we've been the most divided ever, probably, and at least in my life, as far as it feels. And people are fundamentally questioning, like we always say, what is government? What is their role? What is money? And now we're starting to see that these moves are starting to kick the dominoes. And so as we've been hearing in the last couple of weeks from, the Viveks of the world, and obviously Bitcoin have been saying this for a long time, but Bitcoin has become the new hurdle rate. Yes, you can go into treasuries. Yes, you can buy real estate or whatever you think is the best store of value, but Bitcoin is becoming the new industry standard here. Obviously, it's still in the beginning. We're still in the early innings of this, and this information hasn't spread out to everyone yet. But the people that know are looking at the Bitcoin price, they're looking at their investments, and they're wondering, should I just be holding Bitcoin or do I keep holding these investments? Because if it's not getting as much return as Bitcoin is, then what am I doing here? And as we're seeing, Bitcoin is being monetized in real time. So I don't think a lot of these moves are simply symbolic moves going into Bitcoin. I think they are fundamentally trying to address a problem that we all know is a real problem. What is going on with the money? Is the money broken? Is the system broken? Or is the system designed in this way and we need to create a new alternative? And so I think it's still early innings. As high time preference as I am, and I want politics and the political machine to move quicker, it does seem like they're moving at a pretty quick speed. I know last year, Nico was very seriously saying, and we were having this debate on the show, that we might have to leave the US. I'm obviously like, I'm not leaving. This is my home. We can't let this go down. If it goes down in America, then the rest of the world is messed up. And now we've seen literally on a dime that we've pivoted on our stance on Bitcoin. We pivoted on our stance on freedom. And yes, it's not perfect, but I am cautiously optimistic about where we're going. And it's still what, Nico, 2 months at this, less than 2 months, 6 weeks of this presidency. So I think we should, give them a little time. Obviously, they don't have too much time when you really kind of understand the mechanics of how the voting and election cycles go. But I do think they need a little bit of leeway here. And I think some things will happen very soon. We are going to see some catalysts. And further, I don't think the U.S. has a choice. We're seeing that ever since they announced this, every other nation is starting to follow suit. So if it's not the U.S. being first, or rather, one of the big superpowers being first, then it's going to be someone else. So they're kind of backed in a corner now. They have to make these moves very quickly, or else someone else is going to take their lunch. And yes, you know, we have the symbolic move of the Bitcoin that they hold is becoming a strategic Bitcoin reserve. So they seem to be in the lead, but I don't necessarily take that for granted. I think they could definitely lose that position if they don't act quickly.
1,000,000%. Guys, if you guys are enjoying the show so far, we're at 186 likes. Help us break 300 likes by the time the show ends. There's 640 of you guys watching live on YouTube, 200 of you guys watching live on Rumble. Rumble's been on fire these last couple days. Shout out to the Rumble audience, and 2,138 of you guys watching live on X. If you guys are enjoying Simply Bitcoin Live, make sure to smash that like button. We still have a ton of content left for you guys. We're going to be talking to Mr. Dom Bay, who is running for CalPERS Board of Trustees. This is the largest public pension fund in the nation, serving over 2 million participants. We're going to be talking to him about all the details in regards to that during the culture segment and during the news segment. Counter Fitzgerald to expand Bitcoin financing amid U.S. policy shift. And also, it seems like, if you have a Trezor, might be a good idea to upgrade to a cold card, because they might have discovered something not so good. So we're going to be talking about this, ladies and gentlemen. Tons of news and content for you guys only here at Simply Bitcoin. Smash that like button. We're going to hit the news. We will be right back.
I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Casa. Bitcoin security matters, but managing private keys can sometimes be complicated, especially multi-sig. What if you can secure your Bitcoin without worrying about losing a seed phrase or giving up custody? With Casa, you can completely control your Bitcoin with multi-key security, so even if one key is lost or stolen, your funds stay safe. No single point of failure, no stress. That's what I absolutely love about these guys. They make taking Bitcoin into self-custody incredibly easy with their best in industry user experience through their app. I've been personally recommending Casa for years now to my friends and family because they will get all the benefits of multi-key self-custody security without the hassle of having to learn complicated UI. And if you're thinking of one day passing on your Bitcoin to the next generation, their inheritance plan has you covered. Also, if you're a business looking to add Bitcoin to your treasury, do it the secure way with Casa for Business. To get started, go to casa.io today and get 5% off Casa Standard or Casa Premium with promo code SIMPLY. Need liquidity without having to sell your Bitcoin? For more than 6 years now, Ledn has been the trusted choice for Bitcoin-backed lending with transparency, security, and trust at their core. I absolutely love these guys, and I personally have not only an account with them, but also a loan. And some of the key features that I love about Ledn is the fact that there are no monthly payments. You pay at the end of the term. You also have the ability to roll over the loan as well, and you can pay it back whenever you want. Essentially what they do is that they help their clients unlock the liquidity of their BTC, allowing you to hodl while still accessing the wealth of your Bitcoin. They've been battle tested with their focus on transparency, security, and trust, allowing them to build a proven track record of client success and security, helping tens of thousands of clients harness the value of their digital assets with confidence and peace of mind. Learn more about what your BTC can do for you. Check out ledn.io today.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Let's check out the news. Counter Fitzgerald to expand Bitcoin financing amid U.S. policy shift. Oh, wait a second. I might have to shift the show. Dom, am I getting this correctly? You have a hard stop in 9 minutes? All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna shift it. We're gonna be talking to Dom right now. We're gonna hit this we're gonna shift this. Dom is the news today, ladies and gentlemen. Dom is the news. All right, Dom.
I got it right here. Okay, let's go. So Dom, Mr. Dom Bay, Congratulations. Let's start with this big news for us in the Bitcoin space, that you are running for CalPERS Board of Trustees. And so I asked you this before the show. How did this come about, bro? It seemed, personally, I'm your good friend, and it seemed to come out of nowhere. So explain to the people the importance of this, what you're doing, and how this came about.
Yeah, for sure. So, for those that don't know, I've been a firefighter for 16 years. I was an elected board member for the Santa Monica firefighters for over a decade. And in doing that, got very involved with the unions, the pension system, and all the things with workers and wage earners. I actually sat on a pension advisory committee in Santa Monica in 2018. And so really got a chance to learn about our pension inside and out in 2018. Was looking at, the spots, and the board of trustees consists of 13 members. Some of them are appointed. Some of them are members of that board of trustees just by the position they hold in the state. And then there's elections for members at large. They don't come across or they don't open up too frequently. I saw one open up. For those at home, you all know I've been very passionate about educating workers and wage earners, using Bitcoin as a tool for financial literacy, teaching them about the way money works, and also have worked with other board of trustee members, including the Wisconsin retirement system. Talked to some of their members. For y'all that remember, and Nico was a part of this, so he remembers the Nakamoto Gauntlet. We had members of the board of trustees from the Wisconsin retirement system on that show to talk about what is this thing, Bitcoin? Should we be afraid of it? What's behind it? What does it mean? And Wisconsin retirement system ended up putting Bitcoin on their balance sheet. Ultimately, I want to run for the board of trustees for CalPERS because I want to, I don't want to talk about it. I want to be about it. And so if I'm going to sit here and advocate for healthy pensions, and I have an opportunity to serve the state on a board, and to help, guide the pension and engage people in the pension, then I'm going to do that. And so that's why I'm running. I'm really excited to bring, I think people need to get a lot more engaged with their pension system. And that's whether you're a participant of the pension system, or if you're a taxpayer in a city or state that funds the pension, you need to get involved in that pension. You need to start asking questions, understand what's going on, because it is, the equivalent of a sovereign wealth fund for a state. CalPERS, over $500 billion, largest U.S. pension fund, one of the largest funds in the world. And it's really important that this fund does well and is healthy. So that's really key. Another big part of why I'm running is like looking at the incentive models. So CalPERS in the last 10 years has had, I think, 4 or 5 CIOs. That's a lot of turnaround. And so, it's important to evaluate, like, what are those incentives? How do we get the best people? And working, there to do that and be a conduit for people to understand what's going on. Of course, Bitcoin education is always top of the priority list, and helping people understand what it is and teach people about it. So that's why I'm running. I hope that answers the question as to, like, where did this come from?
Love it,
Absolutely.
bro. Love it. Yeah, absolutely killed it. Okay, I am going to hit, the elephant in the room head on, Dom. Of course, you are a Bitcoiner, and I'm sure the critics are saying that you're only running for the board of trustees for CalPERS because you're trying to force them to hold Bitcoin. What would be your response to that?
Yeah, so my response is this. As a board of trustee, like, we don't make direct investment allocations if I were to be in the spot. So, I mean, we don't make direct investments. They set allocations and guide into different areas. So there's an investment team that does that. My role is not to put an investment in a certain, vehicle. So with that said, there's plenty of people that are already advocating to CalPERS to get into Bitcoin that you can rely on. Again, as Nico pointed out in the show, BlackRock, Fidelity, the United States, these are entities that are looking at Bitcoin. So they don't need me to be approached to look at Bitcoin. In fact, I'm sure they've already been approached. CalPERS already holds the following equities. Strategy. You may have heard of them. Anyone heard of Strategy, formerly MicroStrategy? How about Marathon? Ever heard of Marathon, the mining company? What about Riot? They don't hold it anymore, but they were an early investor in Riot mining company in Texas. So, there's already some involvement there. I can be far more effective in providing education and really looking to engage people to participate in their pension, looking at incentive models, getting great investment team in place. And then as a board of trustee, staying out of the way and letting people do their job. We're very much not supposed to get in the weeds of stuff. And so education is going to be one of my big areas of focus. And as a board of trustee, it's not like I hold a lever where, the pension fund's going to invest in this. But we can be a very impactful member of that board and really, have a voice for both the pension participants and the pension itself.
Love it. Hey, Nico, we do have 3 minutes, so I want to give you an opportunity to ask a question, and then Dom's got to run.
Yeah. So Dom, what inspired you to do this, my friend? Like, you have a lot on your plate, bro. You're a successful guy. You're living the good life. Once you enter into politics, dude, politics is like, and I know it's not like elected office, but in a way it kind of is. Like, what motivated you to do this? Because, elections, man, like they're rough, bro. So what motivated you to do this? What inspired you to do this?
Yeah. Inflicting as much pain on myself as possible and being committed to that. No, just joking. But I remember, I just got off a decade of service to the union, and I was like, thank God, the burden is lifted. I sleep better now. I can relax. Ultimately, this journey that we're all on together, especially in Bitcoin, it extends far beyond Bitcoin. And I've always been an advocate of, hey, I'm in Bitcoin for the journey. And I know it sounds crazy. And I know a lot of people are like, all right, I'm here for the asset. But, when I first started learning about this was to like change the world for the better. And so part of that journey involves getting active in your local community. I've done that at the local level, right? And I always preach this to Bitcoiners. Like, if you're a Bitcoiner saying, why is the United States not doing this? My question is, what are you doing in your house? What are you doing at your church? What are you doing at your local neighborhood group or your workplace group? That's where this thing's supposed to start. And so I did that. I started with my own firefighters, right? And they got off zero and became the first union in the country to hold Bitcoin on the balance sheet and in self-custody. I branched out. I started working with other unions, talked to some pensions. That's another branching out process, right? We did the city of Santa Monica, and they did a pilot to learn about Bitcoin. The Bitcoin office had a great event, involved a bunch of community members in an area of the city that was vacant and like trying to like revive itself. And so this is another step. This is another step of the journey. I'm excited for the journey. I think win, lose, or draw, as you mentioned, Nico, this is a tremendous undertaking. Like, I have to reach 2 million participants, public employees involved in CalPERS, and they don't all live in one place. They're throughout the whole state. So I have to really work hard, and it is an uphill battle, but I'm in it for the journey, just for the same reason why a lot of your folks are in it for the journey here. This is about more than like ego or wealth. This is about trying to make positive change through our actions that we do every day. And this is the best way that I know how to do it, by serving and being in a position where I can make a positive change. Hard stop.
Absolutely. Love it, man. I applaud you guys. We're going to put Dom's website in the live chat in a second. If you could do that, Opti, I would appreciate it. And no, I got it right here. You guys could go check that. You guys could go check that out. Support Dom, and he's absolutely crushing it. He's a friend of the show, friend of ours personally. And Dom, best of luck to you. And thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, dude, appreciate you guys for the time. People can support by getting the word out, sharing the website, Bay for CalPERS, that you put up. I saw a comment in the I always love addressing the fans because the fans come first, but they said, hey, it was the Houston Firefighters Retirement Fund that did this. They were first. That's actually a pension fund different from a union. So pension funds are different from union funds. But that Loco Texas was right. As far as pension funds, Houston Firefighters was the first to put Bitcoin directly on the balance sheet. So, Yeah. Sorry to run quick for y'all, but man, huge fan of your guys' show, all your fans, and this is going to be a group effort. I can't do it alone, and it's going to be a very tough journey, but I'll tell you what, it's going to be a fun journey. We're going to learn a ton. It's going to open the doors and really like spark some things in California, and I think it's going to be a positive thing.
Absolutely, man. Well, dude, thank you so much for joining us on the show, Dom, and best of luck to you. And you have our full support here at Simply Bitcoin, Dom. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Y'all the best.
Later, bros. Talk to you soon.
All right, everybody. We still got a ton to cover. Specifically, I'm going to start off with this, guys, because this is a little bit of a warning, especially, guys, it's incredibly important how you store your Bitcoin. And there was a flaw discovered in one of a very popular hardware wallet. Specifically, let me go through all this. At Ledger, you might know that we have the Don John Ledger, our dedicated team constantly conducting open security research. We recently worked with Trezor, revealing that their Trezor Safe 3 was susceptible to physical supply chain attacks. And then it goes on to describe, it says, our Ledger Donjon security research revealed that if a Trezor Safe 3 device was stolen, an attacker could theoretically tamper with the device and modify the software running it, endangering its users' funds, even if this device uses a secure element. It goes on to say, the Trezor Safe 3 and Safe 5 devices feature a two-chip design, a security element paired with a microcontroller. The secure element protects the user's PIN and cryptographic. Thank you, Abdi. Appreciate it. Effectively thwarting inexpensive hardware attacks like voltage glitching. The secure element used in the Trezor Safe devices is the Optiga Trust M by Infineon. It ensures that users' secrets remain secure even if the device is misplaced or stolen. This represents a significant advancement in security. However, our Ledger Donjon security research found that cryptographic operations are still performed on the microcontroller, which can be vulnerable to more advanced attacks. If an attacker modifies the software on the microcontroller, they could potentially access the user's funds remotely. Oof. I mean, that's no bueno. So, what do we recommend? We recommend getting yourself a cold card. It's very simple. Here's NVK, CEO of CoinKite, and he says the Trezor design is simply not good. I mean, look, hardware wallets have one thing to do, and that thing to do is to secure your Bitcoin. All right. So definitely head over to coinkite.com today. Check out their store. If you use promo code SIMPLY, you get 15% off anything on their store. These are the best Bitcoin hardware wallets on the market. I've been personally using them for years for all of our stuff here that we do at Simply. It's an amazing hardware wallet. Highly recommend. They have the MK4 and then the Cold Card Q. Cold Card Q is great if you're using it for like a daily driver, if you run a Bitcoin business, if you're sending Bitcoin transactions all the time. And then the Cold Card MK4, it's battle tested. It's been around for a long time. Has NFC, has USB-C, all that good stuff. And the Cold Card Q has a QR scanner. So just get a cold card. It's not that complicated. Again, use promo code SIMPLY, get 5% off. It's incredibly important. The hardware wallet that you use, I mean, imagine getting a hardware wallet and then all of a sudden you still get rugged, right? Don't put yourself in that position. So check out coinkite.com. Again, use promo code SIMPLY at checkout. You get a discount. It's also in the description. Anyways, guys, no more delay. Let's get to the culture segment where we're going to cover what we were going to cover on the news. We will be right back. Here we go.
I want to give a shout out to our partner, HIVE Digital Technologies. As the first ever public miner, HIVE's position to quadruple their global footprint in 2025. And as the first with an AI strategy, HIVE continues to make moves in sustainable, high-performance computing. They consistently top the industry in Bitcoin mined per exahash, and now they're headquartered in the USA. They're lean and mean, they're green and clean, and they're changing the game. You can catch the latest buzz by following them at HIVE Digital Tech or check out their website at hivedigitaltech.com. I want to give a shout out to our partner, CoinKite. If you take your Bitcoin security seriously, you'll need the best Bitcoin hardware wallet on the market to take self-custody. That's where Cold Card comes in. The Cold Card Q is the most advanced Bitcoin signing device ever made. It's got a full keyboard, larger screen, and NFC support, making air-gap signing easier than ever. It's built for power users who want the ultimate security without sacrificing usability. And if you're looking for a battle-tested, uncompromising cold storage, the Cold Card MK4 is your go-to with PSPT signing, an industrial-grade secure element, and USB-C. It's the perfect blend of security and convenience. Both devices are, of course, 100% Bitcoin only, open source, and built by Bitcoiners for Bitcoiners. Secure your Bitcoin the right way with the Cold Card Q and the MK4. Head over to coldcard.com today and use promo code SIMPLY to get 5% off anything on the store.
All right, everybody, we are back, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be covering Counter Fitzgerald to expand Bitcoin financing amid U.S. policy shift. I know this isn't kind of culture-esque. This is more news-esque, but we had to rearrange some things because we're doing this live and things happen while we're live. I want to give a shout out to Dom. Good luck on him. If you guys are in California and you can vote in that election for Cal PERS, vote for our boy Dom. Let's get a Bitcoiner on the board of trustees. That would be absolutely freaking awesome. Anyways, let's get to today's culture segment. Counter Fitzgerald to expand Bitcoin financing amid U.S. policy shift. Reflecting the United States' growing embrace of Bitcoin, investment bank Counter Fitzgerald has announced partnerships with Anchorage Digital and Copper Co. to support its expanding global Bitcoin financing business. Anchorage Digital and Copper Co. will serve as collateral managers and custodians for Counter Fitzgerald, providing leverage to institutional investors holding Bitcoin. Anchorage Digital and Copper will use their industry-leading security solutions to custody and safeguard client assets. Quote, "We are thrilled to partner with Anchorage Digital and Copper, whose industry-leading security solutions will help us deliver best-in-class digital asset custody services to our clients," said Michael Cunningham, head of Bitcoin financing at Counter Fitzgerald. Quote, "We are launching with $2 billion in initial financing and expected to substantially grow the operation over time. With Counter Fitzgerald, $2 billion initial investment in Bitcoin financing, this partnership signals a major step in mainstream financial institutions embracing Bitcoin as a legitimate investment class." Nathan McCauley, CEO and co-founder of Anchorage Digital, added, quote, "Our partnership marks a major step forward for the Bitcoin financing ecosystem, built on the safety and security of federally regulated digital asset custody. By combining the best of traditional finance with the best of crypto, we are expanding the horizon of what is possible for institutions in Bitcoin. The partnerships come as President Donald Trump's administration continues to advance pro-Bitcoin policies, including the creation of a strategic Bitcoin reserve, reversing previous regulatory hostility under Joe Biden's administration. The SEC recently rescinded Staff Accounting Bulletin 121, which had previously blocked banks from offering Bitcoin custody services. This is the key point out of the entire article, ladies and gentlemen. That sentence that I just read is the key part. Why is it the key part? You have to connect the dots. Michael Saylor said 3 things needed to happen in order for Bitcoin to hit $5 million per coin: the change in the FASB accounting rules, the approval of the spot Bitcoin ETF, and the ability for banks to custody Bitcoin on behalf of their clients. The article continues to say, following this, the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency clarified that banks are now permitted to engage in Bitcoin and crypto services, including asset custody. This shift helped pave the way for major financial institutions like Counter Fitzgerald to expand into Bitcoin services. Counter Fitzgerald President Howard Lutnick, who now serves as the United States Secretary of Commerce, has been instrumental in this shift. What did I tell you guys? Lutnick has been working closely with President Trump on initiatives such as the Strategic Bitcoin Reserve, a key component of the administration's crypto strategy. Quote, institutional investors are increasingly looking to diversify their portfolios and identify secure routes into the digital asset market, said Amar Kunchad, CEO of Copper. This significant partnership with Counter Fitzgerald will meet the growing demand for sophisticated financing solutions, with Copper.co's lending and collateral management platform providing a complete toolkit for secure and strategic asset handling. So guys, this is an insane news. This is absolutely crazy. This is extremely bullish for number go up. Maybe not for the revolution, but definitely from a number go up perspective, the ability for financial institutions to be able to custody digital assets. I know a lot of us are comfortable with self-custody, right? I would say if you're an individual, you should self-custody. I would say if you're a company, you should self-custody. But you know, when you're holding hundreds of thousands of Bitcoin or 50,000 Bitcoin or 10,000 Bitcoin, you better know what you're doing. And the problem is not if you're like holding it for cold storage, but if you're constantly moving that Bitcoin in and out, you need to have a very robust self-custody setup. I think that's or custody setup. And that's why, you know, they have to rely on these third parties. But again, last year, it was impossible for banks to custody Bitcoin. In fact, when the bill was passed in the House and the Senate that was going to repeal SAB 121, it was actually vetoed by Joe Biden. It was on Joe Biden's desk and he vetoed it. A lot of people were speculating. I was interviewing Eric Weiss, the man who orange-pilled Michael Saylor, and I came to the conclusion that, because I was talking to him about the political situation, and he basically pointed out that the thing that the opposing party did that I think got him in the most amount of trouble was the repeal of SAB 121. I think that really, really pissed off a lot of people in the industry, and that obviously created an opportunity for the opposing political party to capitalize on getting the support of the Bitcoin and crypto industry, and that's exactly what happened. I could make an argument that if the previous administration didn't do anything, they just sat on their hands, like you can make a very solid argument that I don't think that the Republicans would have just, I don't think that the political moment, I don't think, the president would be talking about a strategic Bitcoin reserve. I don't think, the donors, all the donorship towards the industry would be as big as it is. I don't think any of that would have happened. They essentially forced our industry into a corner to survive, and we did. And because we survived, again, I keep saying this phrase over and over again, if you're not in the room, you're not in the deal. Now we're in the room, right? We're in the room. So we got Ross free. We repealed SAB 121. We ended Operation Choke Point 2.0. And now the U.S. government is saying, listen, we're going to buy up to, we want to buy Bitcoin. And we're creating a strategic Bitcoin reserve. Like, come on now. It's not rocket science, everybody. It's not rocket science. We won. This is great. But it's important to remain vigilant. It's important to remain vigilant because there's an election that's coming up, right? The midterms are coming up 2026, and then the next presidential election is coming up 2028. And it's not so much about party. It's about, is that Republican or Democrat on Team Orange or on Team Green, right? Vote for people that are on Team Bitcoin, not on Team Fiat. That's bad. Anyways, Opti, I want to get your take on this, bro. Pretty massive news. And again, I think the signal there is it's Counter Fitzgerald moving this effort. And we know that, Howard Lutnick is the chairman of Counter. He was before he had to resign to become Commerce Secretary. So again, what I keep telling you guys, no one is better than their incentives, right? And if you own bags of Bitcoin, what do you think you're going to do? Right? What do you think? It's not bad either, because, Bitcoin has aligned incentives. So, this is why Max Kaiser says that. I will say, you know what, Opti, what we should start doing, this just came to mind. We have to start assigning who the Bitcoin employee of the month is.
Make it a segment.
For this month, I would say the Bitcoin employee of the month is Donald Trump for the Strategic Bitcoin Reserve. What do you think, Opti?
Well, we still have 2 weeks. Let's see you can pull a rabbit out of the hat.
No one's going to top that, bro. That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen.
I would say Trump for March as well. I would say Trump for March.
Trump, all is forgiven to Trump coin. Forgive you, bro. You came through. Opti. You came through. But anyways, yeah, I mean, everyone's talking about the Trezor and Ledger stuff. Guys, I literally put the thread in the chat. You guys don't trust verify. You can read this yourself. Don't kill the messenger here. All right. Check it out yourself. Do your own research.
Put it again.
There you go. You guys could do your own research. We recommend Cold Card. Yes, they're a partner of ours, but we use them personally. Great wallets. Opti, what's your take on this?
Well, first off, I do want to acknowledge that you said Cantor Fitzgerald correctly and Howard Lutnick's name correctly for the first time on the show in, I think, ever. So congratulations and kudos to you, Nico. That's great to see. We are learning English on the show in real time. But no, besides trolling Nico, I think this is a huge story. Obviously, you guys know my take. I am not the biggest fan of banks getting into Bitcoin to custody your Bitcoin. Anytime I hear an institution talking about custodying your Bitcoin, I start to think of the classic examples of Mt. Gox or FTX. And this is the whole point of Bitcoin, is to eliminate the middlemen. But what this does say is that obviously there is a huge hunger for Bitcoin products in the market. And obviously the fact that Howard Lutnick is a part of the official Trump administration and the company that he started or was the CEO of is now moving very bullish into Bitcoin. Obviously, I think this is a sign of things to come. We're starting to see that this isn't just happening in the US. This is the first domino to fall, but we've seen this happen globally right now, where banks are basically scrambling to get Bitcoin custody implemented. And I saw another interesting news, and I thought we were going to tack that on top of this, but didn't Cantor Fitzgerald also talk about, it might have been in the same announcement, but I was seeing it framed also as they are looking into doing some form of like a Bitcoin bond as well, which I think is a very interesting product that the market is very hungry for as well. So the very simple fact of the Howard Lutnick, he's obviously in the Trump administration. The company that he was a part of is now looking to custody Bitcoin. As Nico was saying, we saw Saylor say this a long time ago. The things we need to take Bitcoin to the seven figures is banks custodying Bitcoin, an ETF, and then SAB 121 being repealed, right, Nico? Am I misremembering there? And
it's
now
SAB
we have all of this.
SAB 121 repealed, and now it's SAB 121 repealed, and now it's SAB 122.
Yeah, so we have all of this stuff clear. We have a clear road ahead. And I think we need to remember it's a lot easier for us as individuals. We're a lot more nimble. We can make moves a lot quicker than these big institutions can to move into a totally new financial field. Obviously, we've been hearing that they want to do this. They're hungry for Bitcoin. They obviously want to get their fees and they want to make money. This is, very clear. They want to make money off of Bitcoin. This is very clear. But we're starting to see that all of these things are happening in real time. And as much as we're like, you know, a little pontoon boat as an individual and we can, you know, flip on a dime, these institutions are like the Titanic. And I think they're moving very quickly. And I think by the end of this year, we're starting to see, or will see, that everyone will be forced to get into Bitcoin in some way or another. Remember what happened with Vanguard. The CEO essentially was saying, hey, we're never going to touch Bitcoin. And then very coincidentally, a month later, he is no longer part of Vanguard. So you can tell that behind the scenes, people are hungry for Bitcoin. They want Bitcoin. They want the gains of Bitcoin. Even if they're just touching it in an ETF product, nothing competes with Bitcoin. Again, as we've been saying and as we've been hearing in the last couple of weeks, Bitcoin is the new hurdle rate. If you do not have a Bitcoin strategy, you are being left in the dust in this 21st century. The 2020s, going into the 2030s and beyond, you need to have a Bitcoin strategy. Hold on. Sorry, guys, choking on my saliva. And it's becoming very clear that this is the case. If you are still sitting on the sidelines, I don't know what you're doing. I don't know what you're watching. But from our perspective as Bitcoiners, especially us here at Simply Bitcoin, because we have to cover the news every single day, all indicators are pointing towards the world is headed towards a Bitcoin world. And if you don't have some Bitcoin, you're really going to be looking back at yourself and wondering, what were you doing at this time? So, hey, like, if none of this stuff makes you bullish, I don't know what will. Everyone wants Bitcoin. They want, even further, everyone wants your Bitcoin. So make sure you take that Bitcoin into custody and you secure it yourself. And, you know, you don't get shaken out by these price movements. You understand and you look into the future and realize, hey, in 20 years, if my Bitcoin's secured, I'm going to be living a much better life. I'm going to be secure. And I think that's what most people are looking for. Like, Bitcoin is the long-term investment here, or the long-term savings vehicle here. And now everyone's waking up to it. So I think these dominoes are falling very quickly. They're probably going to fall even quicker moving forward. I'm sure by the end of Q1, we're going to see some pretty big names with some pretty big positions in Bitcoin. And it's becoming very hard for me to understand why people don't have Bitcoin, how they can still FUD Bitcoin. Everything's pointing towards, hey, we were right. Like, we've been right. Yes, you know, Nico and I are essentially kids. If you look at like someone, you know, that's my parents' age, they're probably thinking, hey, these kids don't know how the financial world works. And we just kind of sit back, and then everything starts to lead to Bitcoin. All roads lead to Bitcoin. So you need a Bitcoin position. It's very simple.
Amen to that. Amen to that. All right, everybody, we are getting to the top of the hour. If you guys enjoyed Simply Bitcoin Live for March 13th, 2025, I'm your host, Nico. This is my legendary co-host, Mr. Fields. Make sure to smash that like button. Help us break 300 likes. We got 8 likes to 300 likes. So there's 574 of you guys watching live on YouTube. There's 261 of you guys watching live on Rumble. Smash that like button. Smash it. Help us break that 300 like threshold. And of course, shout out to the X audience, 2,632 people watching us live on X. We appreciate everybody for tuning in to today's episode. Again, smash that like button. We got 4 likes away to break 300 likes before the end of the show. Opti.
What? Sorry, I was in the chat. What were we saying?
All right, we got, come on, guys. Oh, 302. We broke it. Bars, Opti. Hit the horns, hit the bars.
Yeah, listen. That's called motherfucking bars.
Awesome. All right, we're going to end it with that, guys. Love you all. We'll see you tomorrow for the last episode of the week of Simply Bitcoin Live. Peace out, everybody.
Today's episode was brought to you by BitcoinWell.com, a Bitcoin-only platform on a mission to enable financial independence.